Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in today. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about finding the money in education. And of course, those of you who've been in education for a little while understand that finding money can be difficult. But today, we're going to be talking about finding money through the grant writing process. Grants are some things that many teachers utilize, but for some reason or another, many teachers do not. One of those reasons might be that they're unfamiliar with the process or unsure of where to start. Hopefully, those questions will be answered here today by this short video. We're going to be talking about finding grants, applying for and writing grants, and then what to do after you have received a grant. I want to start out by talking about finding grants, and there's lots of places to find money in education. There are lots of people that are willing to donate to help improve student achievement. Three of the areas that we're going to look at today include local school districts. Here in the Washington County School District in St. George, Utah, our school district has a foundation. Many school districts across the country may have similar items or foundations that are running. There are also local grants within your local neighborhood and city. And then, of course, there are federal or national grants that we'll talk just shortly about. The first grants to look at are grants that are offered by the local school district. If they offer one here in Washington County, the school district runs a foundation that runs fundraisers and receives donations, and they grant grants to Washington County School District teachers and classrooms for the improvement of student achievement here in Washington County. This is a great advantage because the competition for these grants is much smaller, much lower than big federal grants, obviously, where lots of people are applying. Although the competition still is stiff, and so you want to make sure you have a good plan. They do grant up to $500 for your classroom, and a nice advantage as well is the application process is much simpler than some, for instance, a federal grant may be. However, the grant applications are due the end of August each year, so you'll need to do some thinking over the summer or perhaps in the spring as you wind down the previous school year and think about the things that you'd like to incorporate into your classroom the next year. Think about those things so you're prepared to complete the application process by the end of August. The next thing we're going to talk about is local grants. So these are usually offered by local companies or philanthropic organizations within your community. Competition may be a little bit stronger there, depending on the number of schools and teachers in your area. But local businesses such as grocery stores like Harmon's here in St. George or Stephen Wade Auto Center oftentimes will sponsor or give small grants for specific projects. A lot of times physical education equipment, computer resources, those types of things for students. This is good PR for the companies, and they are genuinely interested in helping the students in the community achieve and improve. Finally, we have federal grants or national grants. These are much larger grants, and they're for more extensive programs and projects, things that may go even multiple years. They are large awards, usually lots of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars sometimes for these types of grants. They are much more competitive. Oftentimes, the grants are written by professional grant writers or full-time grant writers that the district has hired. For them. However, that's not to say they're not accessible to you if that is something that interests you, if you have a program that would qualify for one of these federal grants. The application process is much more complex. We won't touch too much on that process here today. It's beyond the scope of what we're doing today, but they are much more complex and they do have some more stringent reporting requirements. A good place to look for these if you are interested is websites like grants.gov, the government website. We have things, foundations like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the National Endowments for the Arts. All right, now that we've found the grant, the next step really is applying for and writing the grant. And of course, the first thing you want to do is make sure that your priorities and your goals match the goals of the organization with which you'll be applying. If they don't, there's little chance that your grant, no matter how well researched and written it is, will be approved because the goals and the priorities do not match. So for example, think about, do they support technology in the classroom? Are they trying to implement a STEM program? Would they like to increase reading interventions in early grades? You want to make sure you find a good match. Next, after you've found a good match, it's time to dig in and do your research. Of course, you want to identify your overarching goals and objectives for the project, what you'd like to accomplish with the funds. And the next step is to really create a budget proposal narrative. This talks about how much money you'll need, what it will be used for, the resources that you'll need, where you can get them, how much do they cost. After you've created this, you'll want to spend some time preparing a timeline of the project. So where will you begin, and what will some of the major milestones be, and when will these milestones happen? Finally, you want a way to evaluate and measure your progress and the progress of the students that have been impacted by the grant. And so you want to ask yourself, when do you anticipate having data to evaluate the project? How are you going to evaluate the project? And how will you report that to the funders? Once you're done there, you'll begin to write the grant. The first thing that you'll want to do, grants have different types of application processes. Some of them are simple, some of them are more complex. Many of them will ask for a narrative or a short executive summary of what your project is, what the need is, and what the solution is. When you do that, focus on how the grant will help increase student learning and achievement and how it will help students. You want to be specific. You want to include information from the budget proposal and the timeline that you've created, and all that information will show that you've done your homework and that you and your project is something that the grant funders can trust, and that there's a place where they could invest the money and put the money where it will be successful. All right, so now you've written the grant, you've got the grant. Now what do you do? Well, a great place to start, of course, is by thanking the funder for the grant. This can be done by phone call or letter or both. This will help create a positive image of you and your organization and help you to possibly receive further funding in the future. Of course, now it's time to get to work. You want to plan and implement the project that you've just won the grant for. You'll want to prepare a calendar with all the important dates, including major milestones and reporting dates and conclusion dates. You want to organize your team if it will be more than just you on what the goals are and what everyone's role will be. If it is just you in your classroom, you'll want to go ahead and order those supplies or resources and begin implementing your project. After the project has been implemented and you've been going along for a while, of course the funder and the organization who gave you the money will want to know that their money is making an impact and what type of impact it's making. So again, specific reports will depend on the grant, and the local grants are usually less complex, they're less formal in their reporting. The government or national grants are more complex in their reporting. They all offer specific due dates, and so on the screen here you see a bunch of different items here that are listed. These are just examples of different types of reporting requirements, from federal grants that have specific forms to a local grant where they may just want a simple narrative of the report. Finally, we'll talk just a minute about other ways to fund projects. There are lots of ways, especially in our social media community, to fund. One such place is Donors Choose, donorschoose.org, where you explain to the world essentially what your project is and why you feel like it's worth funding, and then individual donors come in and choose to fund your project or a portion of your project. Here's just a short list of the resources that we've talked about today: the Washington County School District Foundation, grants.gov, donorschoose.org. And of course, don't forget, if you're in the Washington County School District and at Desert Hills High School specifically, we are working to set up a grant workshop in August where you can receive some hands-on training as well as be mentored by those who have written grants and received grants before. It'll be a great resource for you. Finally, here is just some of the works cited and references that I've referenced here in this presentation today. If you're interested in finding more information, visit any of these sources, which is where I've got a majority of the information for this project today. I hope this has been useful for you. Good luck in your grant writing adventures, and I hope success for you in the future. Thank you.